Okay, we're back from break. He just asked, he was using his GitHub, and it's like, hey, there were a bunch of files they were seeing, right? Yeah, in the target directory. So, and so he asked, okay, I've got, actually, let me just go to that directory. Like, how do I ignore like all that stuff in my target directory? So in Maven, the target directory contains all the built artifacts. So here we are in the student, and if you look in target, here's like all your jar files and generated classes and holy mackerel, there's all this bunch of stuff in there. And because it's all generated, you don't want it in GitHub, right? Like we were saying last time, in version control, you only want like the original source, the stuff that you write, not the stuff that the compiler generates or some other tool generates. So yeah, I think if we say git status to say, hey, what's all the stuff that what's all the stuff that is not in GitHub? It has stuff like this dependency reduced pom.xml and the whole target directory. And we don't want that stuff in there. As a matter of fact, it's kind of annoying that Git is saying that's even under consideration. So we want to tell GitHub, or we want to tell Git, ignore that stuff. And so the way we do that is that there is this file called .gitignore. Oops, I guess it's upper directory. So it's the root level. You can have one here, I suppose. But .gitignore that lists all the things to ignore. So like class files, don't want them in GitHub. Jar files, nope, not in GitHub. Dumps when the VM crashes, no. All the IntelliJ files, we don't want those. And now we also don't want stuff in the target directory. So oops. So we want to say anything in target /star, and then that dependency reduced pom XML, which is like, what is that thing? Oops. Target.star. So let's add that one first. Now if we do status, no, it still has target, probably because I need star target.star. Oops. Good, got rid of target. Now all this dependency reduced pom XML, I have no idea what that is. That's not something that I want to be complaining about. So let's open that up again. And of course I could be doing this in IntelliJ too. But VI, what the heck. Okay, so what is it telling me? It's not saying, hey, you've got you've got things like the target directory and that pom dependency, whatever the hell it was, thing. Now you just got to modify gitignore. Exactly what I want. So I'll just say git commit, added some more kinds of files to ignore. And I think that's it. Oh wait, it didn't, what didn't it like? Oh, interesting. Do I need to tell it to use the gitignore? Yay, that's good. Push it off to GitHub. Type my passphrase right. Poof, push it off to GitHub. And so now when we'll go back on GitHub and refresh, there the stuff is. Okay, now I won't complain about those things. That's what you need to do. You need to update the gitignore. And I believe you can have a gitignore in any directory in your GitHub repository. I just did it at the top level so that any place the target appears, it'll ignore it. That all make sense? We'll buy kind of fast. Anyway, it'll be on the recording. Sing along at home. Okay, let's go back to writing some more tests. So you're trying to get a feel for how this test from development works? It's like, something might go wrong. Quick, write it down and then make it go wrong, fix it, and see if there's any way that you can make your code better. So that red-green refactor. Okay, so meanwhile back on the ranch. Okay. So should we attack our next test case, or is there like even something simpler that we should attack first? The only reason I'm a little reluctant to go to GPA is because it's like the third command line argument. So let's just start at the beginning. So let's go back to the project assignment. Okay, let's ultimately look at this. So let's see here. The first argument is the name. Okay. Are there any test cases that we can write around name?
Invalid characters.
Not just letters, as numbers in.
Somebody could be named 42.
Yeah, I mean, it is Oregon after all. You know, it's, I don't know, invalid characters. I don't know. Are there invalid? Does the assignment say anything about invalid characters? What would like that? What would that look like? I can't think of anything. So. ASCII. Anyone here who was born outside the United States? Yeah. So. I think any character is valid. Even wingdings. Yeah, here again, it's Oregon. See, it was funnier the first time, wasn't it? Okay, but not by much because it's not that funny. Okay, but let's. So yeah, wingdings or like non-ASCII or something like that. So let's write a test. Public void non-ASCII, name with non-ASCII characters is valid. So what does that look like? So when we say invoke student main with like a name with non-ASCII characters. Oh, let's do like Hans with like an umlaut or something really badass like that. So what is umlaut? So what is the let's do Unicode umlaut. Unicode umlaut. Okay. So let's see here. We want like a or circumflex. No, we want the umlaut. Umlaut, capital A, small a with umlaut. This dude right here. So we could just cut and paste this in here. And I'm sure Hans doesn't really have an umlaut, but you know, see, his spell checker complains about it. And you know, this is fine. A good rule of thumb, though, is unless you really expect everybody who uses your code to like have like their file system and their tools set up for non-ASCII, it's better to sort of keep everything in ASCII. So what we can do is we can use the code equivalent. Let's see here, but that's I need the hex, don't I? So quick, what's 228 in hex? You guys call yourselves computer scientists. I don't know. Okay, so hey Google, what's 84? E4. Good man. So you say backslash u. No, shoot. What do you say? E4. E4. Is that right? No. I was complaining about legal escape character. Oh my gosh. I want to say. I can't remember how to do it now. What? No. It should be. It's like backslash u. 00E4. There we go. Whew, don't do that very often. Right. So what this says is, the sun is so bright. Can I put that? No, anyway. This is basically saying, hey, this is really Unicode E4, which is Hans. And so you know what? Let's. But I want to make sure. So let's do system.out.println. Oops. Our.println. Hans. I just want to see what it looks like to make sure it's the right thing. And let's run our tests again. Yep, Hans with an umlaut. Okay, success. Look at all the great stuff that you learned here at Portland. Okay, and so now we're going to have our invoke student main with Hans. And okay, so what happens? Everything's valid, so we should have like a we should have a return result of 0, right? So assert that result.get exit code is 0. Sound like a reasonable test? Everything's valid? Everybody's happy? Oh, insertion error was 1. Yeah, that's... Really? That's true, but I mean, what does our main method do? Oh, yeah, less than 6. Time to get serious. Okay.
Toss in an array of 6 with mass numbers and masses and majority.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so so we just need 6. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops, 6. Try that. Yeah, that worked. We're gonna have to come back and fix that, aren't we? Well, okay. You know, I don't want to fix it now. And if we run all of our tests, we'll find out when it breaks, right? At some point, we'll introduce something to make it break, so let's just leave it like this. Okay. Anything else we want to test about name? Student name? No, let's go on. Let's look at gender next. So what do we... Actually, was there anything on the community about gender? Oops, let's go back here. What have we got? Ooh, Blake has a whole bunch of stuff. No command line args or type of args. Bring correct behavior. Argument. I don't see anything about gender on here. We'll come back to some of these other ones later. What do we know about gender? What can go wrong with gender? No.
It's not always binary.
Yeah, well, let's keep it simple. Let's just have male and female for the case. Again, this is Oregon, so you can have some kind of Hans. And anyway, okay, now it's getting weird. Okay, what do we want to be able to test about gender?
Either male or
Okay. So let's see here. When gender is male. It's cool. It's valid. It's exit code is 0. Okay. So we're going to invoke student main with name, and then gender is going to be male, and then oops, that's 3. 3, 4, 5, 6. A caret, whatever. It's going to be result. And then I'm typing the same thing over and over again. I'm going to make a mental note that we need to do some refactoring. Oops. Okay, exit code equal to 0. Okay. Yeah.
So I noticed that we're doing really small things. Like triangling will be when gender is male or female. Tie those together.
Okay.
A single test, but I want to know kind of what general practice is, or how granular you get on these tests.
So, for me, it really is baby steps. Because then what you end up with is this record of like every little step. Now, I think we'll see if this, we can see how well this serves us, as the program evolves. It might be these 2 little steps, or that, because I'm kind of looking at things like all this 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stuff, and I'm like, oh wow. When we actually start like doing, validation and stuff, a gender of 2, nah, that's not going to work. But I want to see what it's like when we get there, because maybe it won't be so bad to make it work. So I think my preference is, just go very small and sort of sanity check it every little step of the way. But we'll see how that serves us. So I think that's the path that I prefer to take. And let's see how that goes. Okay. When gender is male, exit code is 0. Let's look at some negative test cases. So like what would be, so like what happens or what should happen when gender is neither male nor female. Error message?
Do they have to type out the whole male or whole female? Just add that.
What does the assignment say? Ooh, case insensitive. Okay. Mental note. Case insensitive. Oops. Add ignore. Public void. Something about gender case insensitive. Okay, we'll come back to that one. Okay, so what does this test look like? So name, invalid gender, let's say invalid, and then the rest of the arguments, 3, 4, 5, 6, oops, caret again, doesn't matter. Oops, this thing's screwed up. What is it not happy about?
After the comma.
Ah, thank you. Yay, pairing. Okay. Oh, actually, so this is actually one of those times where it's like assert that standard error contains, because we expect there to be an error message. So what do we want the message to be? Invalid gender. Put this in the error message. It's a little easier to read. Okay, so let's see here. Let's run this. Failed! Yay, we're green or red. Okay. So okay, something failed. Okay, we expect invalid gender. Now it's time to write some real code. Okay. Okay, what do we do?
The way to pick out each gender from the list.
Okay, how do we get our gender? Name, gender, args1. Okay, so what if not gender equals, equals ignore case. Ooh, interesting. Male and not gender equals ignore case female. Then what? Issue some error message. What are we going to call it? Invalid gender. System.error.println invalid gender. And system.exit 0. No, sorry, 1 because it's something bad. We should probably validate that also, huh? Or do we? Wait a second. Standard error contains. Yeah. So get exit code equal to 1. Okay. So just made some changes. Give it a try. Here I'm just going to rerun this one that failed. So I can just right click on that and just run this individual one. It just reruns that one test. Ooh, and it passes. Okay, that's good. Now let's go back and run them all. Ah, failures all over the place. Oh, interesting. When there are 1,000 arguments, exit code is 0. And name with, oh, right, this is Hans, and his gender is 2. That doesn't seem right. Hans's gender is male. Okay, and so let's see here. We just fixed Hans here. We'll just run that one test. Okay, that guy's okay. And now what was that other one? Let's rerun them all again. And then, oh yeah, the 1,000 arguments. Right. This is where, oops. Okay, yeah, I think someone called this out earlier. Okay, we need to have some valid stuff here.
Have the one you just overwrite the.
Yeah, that sounds right. That's a good idea. 1,000 arguments. So the first one is going to be somebody's name. 1,000 arguments. Oops. 1,000 arguments. 1 is going to be the gender. Let's do female. Actually, do we have any tests that make sure that female is a valid gender? Yeah, let's check that out. Oops. Female. Okay. Try that again. Okay, everybody's green. So let's see here. We've got an invalid gender. We've got both male and female. They're all happy. Okay, good deal. Any other validation? Oh, right, case insensitive. So how do we test case insensitive? Avoid case insensitive male gender is valid. You know what? Actually, before I do that, I want to do some refactoring because I've had to type this same thing like over and over again a gazillion times. So how many of these are equal to 0? So that one's a little weird. But let's do this, and let's call this args here and see what this gets if we extract a method there. So assert that arguments are valid. Only one? Seriously? How come I didn't get this one? No? That's weird. Maybe I just wasn't smart enough to figure it out. Oh, and you know what? And let's inline this. Oh, interesting. It did it as an array. Well, that's not exactly what I want. So I wasn't quite smart enough to figure out this should be a var args, but that's okay. Come back here, and we'll say this is not an array of strings, but it's var args. Okay, so then this guy becomes assert that arguments are valid, all those dudes, and oops, that's screwy. There we go. Watch Dave type. Assert that arguments are valid, delete. Okay, that one. Oh, I did get this one. That's cool. Okay, let's try running them again. Okay, it's happy. So now let's do our when gender is neither male. No, wait, case insensitive male gender is valid. So assert that arguments are valid. Name. Sure, whatever. 3, 4, 5. I do the caret 6. Okay, and then let's do female also. Oops, wrong one, got duplicated. So if you guys are, so if I'm the one who's driving, and if you guys are co-piloting, in addition to watching me type, making sure that I'm getting it right, you should also be thinking of what the next test case that we need to execute is. Okay, or we need to write. Next test case that we need to write is. Okay, everything's passing. Is there anything more about case-insensitive gender, or is this sort of like this placeholder is sort of a reminder that we don't need it anymore? I don't think we need it anymore. Just delete some code. Okay. Let's move these changes back. Okay, so validate that gender is either male or female. Let's put some quotes in this. Case insensitive. I wonder what warnings are. Let's review the warnings. What the heck? No, class is never used, GPA is never used, gender is never used. Yeah, this is all from the constructor here. Yeah, we'll get there. Coming back again. You remembered my message, which is nice of it. Commit, commit. Okay, what's next? Come on, come on, help. What's next?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about when you want to use Maven to do this kind of thing
Oh, okay.
versus do it in IntelliJ.
That's a good point. Yeah, so I'm doing all of this in IntelliJ. Is your question like, why aren't I running the tests from
Yeah, there's a
Maven?
Maven compile, Maven test, and Maven
Yeah.
package.
Actually, so you're right. Probably what I should be doing more often than I have been is just making sure that Maven thinks all the tests are passing also, just as a sanity check. Oops. Looks like I'm running the debugger. I don't want that. Unset Maven ops. Yay, build success. Everybody's happy. Oh, dependency reduce POM. I don't know what that is. Okay. Oh, something for shade. Okay. So yes. Well, I mean, the thing that I can do in IntelliJ is I get this very rapid feedback, right? So it's like write a little test, watch it fail, make it, write a little code, watch it pass, right? And so that rapid feedback is there in IntelliJ. If I were to like go back to Maven to run the tests every time, it'd be much slower. And I wouldn't have like the nice just being able to navigate from like the stack trace when it fails, click right back to the line. So I think that's why I'm using IntelliJ for that. But you're right. I should make sure my Maven build is passing.
Maven would be the ultimate arbiter of whether these tests are passing.
Yes, I mean, I think ultimately. So yeah, doing a sanity check to make sure that Maven still thinks that they pass too. And it really is a sanity check, right? Everything should be the same, but it's just making sure. Also, I don't know if you're hinting at this, there is another step that I think I'll save for another time that you can do. There's something called continuous integration. So let's say you've got a project and you've got a bunch of people contributing to the project, and you want sort of the single source of truth in terms of does everything compile, do all of your tests run, and I want to build my artifacts in one place. This will be the officially built artifact for my project. There is a piece of software called a continuous integration server. The whole idea is that it sits there and it monitors your source code control. So it's sitting there and like polling GitHub, like, hey, has anything changed? Has anything changed? Oh, someone pushed some code to the repository. I'm going to go get that code, or get those updates to the code, get the latest code base, start from scratch, clean everything, build everything, compile the code, run the tests, build the artifacts, blah 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 blah. If all that's successful, yay, that's great, and I'll report that out, meaning that okay, great, I've got a build of my software that all the unit tests pass and ready to are ready to consume. And actually, I was looking at it earlier. I use a system called Travis Continuous Integration that I've got configured here. I won't. Well, let's go back to the testing. But anyway, what this thing does is this is just some website out there, and I've got it configured so that every time I make a commit to like the source code for the class or the example code, so the stuff I'm writing tonight, but it's like the example code, it goes through and it gets the latest changes and rebuilds everything. And if it's happy, it turns green. If it fails, it sends me an email and said, "Hey, you checked in some code that didn't build," and then I can go investigate it. So that's sort of like another step, and actually a very important part of good software development practices, especially when you're working on a team. Is that what you were hitting at, Blake?
I wasn't.
Okay, a little detour.
Is Jenkins, is that?
Jenkins is another tool, yep, and there's actually online Jenkins hosting. I was using a service called CloudBees, but didn't support Java 8, so I went away from it. But yeah. Okay. Okay, are we on to GPA now? I think we are. Okay. And we have some notes here. When GPA is not double, print error message. So let's, okay, what do we want that to look like? Let's see here. Assert that standard error contains, what do we want the error message to be?
GPA must be a number, like a fractional number, decimal number.
0.0 and 4.0?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I guess what I was thinking about when I came up with that was like, since these are coming in strings, you have to convert it to a double, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if there's in some case where it can't be converted to a double.
So like when it's not a double. Okay, so like what does that look like? So what are the command line arguments? The name, yep, a gender, that's valid. And then okay, so like what's a nice invalid number?
Something like alphanumerical or letters.
Q. Okay. What was that?
TWO.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Yeah, that's probably 2.3. Oh, come on. 3.9. Okay, and then let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's give this one a whirl. Oops. Oh? Wait, what?
Is that invalid? Oh, wait.
Oh yeah, right. Are we even checking GPA yet? So, no, but it should still. It should fail here, right? Because it doesn't contain error message.
It's still under attic.
Oh, that would do it. Thank you. See, isn't this awesome? I've got like, it's not pair programming, it's like 40 on 1. Fancy. I should hire all you guys. I should sit here and like write my code from work. And anyway, okay. Now let's try it again. Okay. Hey, there you go. Okay, now it's red. Okay, good. Okay, let's go make a pass. Okay. Oh, back to our long-suffering main method. Okay, what do we need to do here? Okay. So let's see here. What do we need to parse? So let's see here. I know how to turn a string into a number. I say double.parse double. And like, what is the string? args2. Okay. And this will be double GPA. Oh, well, I don't know. Let's try running it and see what happens. Ah, it blows up. Illegal argument exception. Error while invoking main for input string blah blah blah. Number format exception. Okay. So let's see here. Nope. Oh, actually, wait. I do want to do that. I want to split into declaration and assignment, and then I want to say I can't wrap it in a try catch easily, can I? Okay. So try catch number format exception. Now what do I want to do? Ah, right. System.err. Println. GPA must be a number between. Like that. I want system.exit 1. Actually, I won't. And then I'll do this. And it's failing because it's saying expected 1 but was 0. That's the exit code. So I should do system.exit 1. Yay, green. I'm going to refactor. Let's refactor. Look at the, can we refactor anything here? I mean, I know it's only like 20 lines long, but what?
Start splitting it up into separate methods.
Oh. So what? Some constants? Separate methods? Okay, I like that. Let's do the constant stuff first. Extract constant and in. Why is it doing this? Invalid GPA. And then let's go back to the test. Let's use that same comment. Student, oh my gosh, got invalid GPA. And want to do the same thing for invalid gender? Why not? Okay, actually got it right this time. And let's do this here. Student.invalidGender. I'm just going to do a static import. These guys, so you don't have to have that. You guys know what a static? No, you can look it up. Okay, but split into other methods. That sounds interesting. What do you suggest?
Like parsing the gender and parsing the, or checking the gender and checking and parsing the GPA.
Okay.
Separate methods.
Yeah, I like that. So let's see here. Call this like validate gender.
What was the shortcut email?
Sorry? Oh, Option Command M. Yep. Or Control Alt M, I think, on Windows. Validate gender. Yeah, I'm sorry, and that's the refactor extract method. As a matter of fact, I'm going to change this around a little bit because this is a void method right now. I want this to return the valid gender. That just sort of seems like a better pattern to me. So yeah, string dir, and then return gender, and then so then this becomes and then what? Do something similar here for GPA.
Yeah.
I like that. Validate GPA. Oh, interesting. No. What doesn't it like? Oh. Okay, so it's complaining that variable GPA might not have been initialized. Why is it complaining about that? What about the try-catch block?
But it fails to parse it, and it says it's
Okay. But it's like, oh, I'm going to be exiting the VM. Yeah, I could do something like 0.0, and but it's like this is dead code right here. It's never going to be invoked. I want to make a little stronger statement. I want my program to blow up. So in one of the lectures, I talk about assertions, And the whole idea is that as you're writing your code, as you and your pair are. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. I gotta fix that. You're having this conversation, and in that conversation, you're making all these sort of like statements or assumptions about your program. And one of them was like, okay, well, we exit the VM right here. Now the compiler doesn't know that exiting will actually mean that nothing is executed after it, but I know that, and I want to codify that fact by throwing an assertion error, which means that if you do get here, I want the program to blow up because one of those assumptions that I made is wrong. So I prefer to like throw an exception when you get to a point where like if to make sure that if this code is executed, that it blows up and you know about it. Okay, that's cool. I want to fix this though.
And that also fix the error that you're having as well. The fact that
Yes. So the compiler does what's called control flow analysis. It looks at the variable GPA. It's declared up here, and it's returned down here. And said, wait a second though. If parse double throws an exception, there's no value that's going to ever be associated with GPA. And so if I then I'll execute these two statements right here. There's no value of GPA to return in that case when the exception is thrown, and that's an error, right? The compiler is not going to let you. Because what was the value of GPA when the exception is thrown? There is no value, and the compiler knows this, so the compiler is not going to let you do it.
But then by throwing the assertion error,
The compiler says, "Oh, okay, wait. You're going to throw if you do get so it says, okay, these two statements execute. Oh, look, and then I'm going to throw an error, which means that I'm never going to get down here, right? Because the compiler says, okay, well, throwing will exit the method, so you're never going to get down here to that return statement." No, great question. Okay, and then we want to make this args what? Args 2.
I think you should document where those numbers are coming from in the code. Document what 1 and 2 are coming from, what they represent.
And so like, what would that look
You
like?
do a comment with a sample input and then count off underneath it.
Oh.
This is 0, this is 1, this is.
Yeah, you could. Although I'm looking at this code. Does that? Can I make the code? Is the code either readable enough or something that I can do to the code to make it more readable? Because I mean, gosh, validate gender args 1. That's pretty much saying that the gender's in. Sorry, the gender's in args 1. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm just saying maybe we use constant so if it changes down the road.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. I like that. Okay. And so call it gender arg. Oops. What is it? So why can't I just type here? What do I need to do? I need to hit escape. Gender arg. Well, except that I agree that it makes it more readable in some respects, but like, am I ever going to use this constant anyplace else? I don't know if I am. So I don't know if that makes it more readable or not, or just. But you do make a good point. Yeah.
Sort of a side topic, since we're talking about labeling our methods and stuff with Java docs, can you give an example with here, what would you label the Java docs?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question. So I don't know if I want to do that or not. I don't know if it really does make it more readable. I think the answer might become clear as we add more stuff. So like right here, I've already got so the archetype created this Java doc, and I guess what really I would add is param args, and it's like command line arguments, which is a little redundant. And then one can imagine like for this validates that a GPA is a valid double string.
So the reason they have the tags around some of them, example of Java doc doesn't.
Oh, like did I put this?
Yeah.
Just so that when you turn it into HTML, these are in fixed width font. Yeah. Yeah, so I'd probably just put something like this, and then I probably want to say if the if arg is not a valid double program exits. Oops, exits. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that's probably what I would put. But maybe what you're hinting at is that, gee, Dave, if you use names that if you have method names that are easy to understand, and if you have variable names that are easy to understand, do you really need the Java docs? That's a good question. I think the answer is in most cases no in the real world, and yes for this course. So it's kind of a yeah.
You really need Java docs for private
No in the real world for this course, yeah. So you're right. I mean, actually, and if you read, like Uncle Bob's book, or you watch his videos and stuff like that, he pretty much comes out right and say, boy, if you have to write a comment for something, you might be doing it wrong. Meaning that maybe your method is too big, is doing too much, or that your names aren't descriptive enough. So, yeah, I hate to be all teachery on you about that, but it's like, requirement for the course is that you have JavaDoc. Okay, where were we? Running everything, everything's passing. We did some refactoring. I think there's one other refactoring that I'd like to do, and that is to turn I think I want to turn this code into a method which is like print usage and exit. Should find some other code fragments. Yes, and that other one is wrong. So I really want this to be that. Go to that method, do this, do that, and then print usage. Let's try that. Cool, it's green. Yeah, it's green, everything's run. Look at what we just did. We moved around a whole bunch of code. We were sort of like, refactor, everything's really fast. Okay, everything, and I could see from IntelliJ that everything's still compiling. And then I ran the test, and everything still passed. So I can be confident that all those changes I made didn't break anything. And this is the power of unit tests. This is why you have all these little tests of all these little specific pieces of logic. Because what you've done is you've captured all of the requirements of the program, all the ones we've defined, all the ones we've captured so far. Right? Hey, here's what, here's how to validate the GPA, here's how to validate the gender, all that stuff. It's all captured there in unit test. So you can go and, change stuff around, make changes, and validate it really quickly. And everything's still good. Okay. How long have I been talking? Seems like long enough. Let's take another break. I'll commit this up to GitHub. And let's see if we can, let's come back. Let's take a shorter break. Let's come back at 8:25. Gosh, it seems like we're going a little bit later than I thought. And let's see if we can finish up. Okay. Okay.